Hey everyone, Luke Dog here, and welcome back to God of War 2, where last time we got the Golden Fleece. I figure, let's read about it, along with Jason and the Argonauts. The Muses, this is a long one. The Muses sang about handsome Jason and his quest for the Golden Fleece. Jason of Iolcus was as strong and well-bred as he was handsome, for he had been raised by the wise centaur Chiron. Jason's father had brought the boy to the centaur and had asked him to bring him up, for he feared his own brother Peleus, who had taken from him the throne of Iolcus, might harm his heir. In Chiron's lonely mountain cave, young Jason was raised to be a hero, skilled in all manly sports. When he was grown, he left his foster father to go to Iolcus and reclaim his father's throne. Hera, who was paying a visit to Earth, saw the handsome youth as he walked down from the mountain. His golden hair hung to his shoulders, and his strong body was wrapped in a leopard skin. Hera was taken by his fine looks. She quickly changed herself into an old crone and stood helplessly at the brink of a swollen stream, as if she did not dare wade across. Jason offered politely to carry her, and lifted her on his strong shoulders. He started to wade, and at first she was very light, but with each step she grew heavier, and when he reached midstream, she was so heavy his feet sank deep in the mud. He lost one of his sandals, but struggled bravely on, and when he reached the other side, the old crone revealed herself as the goddess Hera. "Lo," she said, "you are immortal after my liking. I shall stand by you and help you win back your throne from your uncle Peleus." This was a promise the goddess gladly gave, for she had a grudge against Peleus, who had once forgotten to include her when he sacrificed to the gods. Jason thanked her and went on his way in high spirits. When he arrived in Iolcus, people crowded around him, wondering who this handsome stranger might be. But when King Peleus saw him, his cheeks paled. An oracle had predicted a youth with only one sandal would be his undoing. Peleus feigned great friendship when Jason said who he was and why he had come, but underneath he held dark thoughts and planned to do away with his guest. Peleus feasted Jason and flattered him and promised him the throne as soon as he had performed a heroic deed to prove himself worthy of being king. "In the kingdom of Colchis, at the shores of the Black Sea," said Peleus, "on a branch in a dark grove, there hangs a golden fleece, shining as brightly as the sun. Bring the fleece to me, and the throne shall be yours." The golden fleece was once the coat of a flying ram, sent by Zeus to save the life of young Prince Phrixus of Thessaly. The crops had failed, and Phrixus's evil stepmother had convinced his father he must sacrifice his son to save his country from famine. Sadly, the king built an altar and put his son on it, but Zeus hated human sacrifice, and as the king lifted his knife, a golden ram swooped down from the skies and flew off with Phrixus. A golden ram swooped down from the skies and flew off with Phrixus on his back. They flew far to the east and landed in the kingdom of Colchis. The king of Colchis understood that Phrixus had been sent by the gods. He gave him his daughter in marriage and sacrificed the ram. Its glittering fleece was hung in a sacred grove, and it was the greatest treasure of the country. King Peleus was certain Jason would not return alive, for he knew the warlike king of Colchis would not part with the fleece and that a never-sleeping dragon was guarding it. But Peleus did not know that Jason had Hera's help. "Give me timber and men to build for me a sturdy ship, and I shall sail off at once," said Jason. The king gave him what he asked for, and the great ship, the Argo, was built. It was the most seaworthy ship ever seen. Athena herself, prodded by Hera, put a piece of sacred oak on its prow. The oak had the power to speak in times of danger and advise Jason what to do. With a ship like that, it was not hard for Jason to gather a crew of heroes. Even Heracles came with his young friend Hylas. Callias and Zetus, winged sons of the North Wind, joined, and Orpheus came along to inspire the crew with his music. Soon, each of the 50 oars of the ship was manned by a hero who swore to stand by Jason through all dangers. Before they set sail, the heroes who called themselves the Argonauts sacrificed ritually to the gods and made sure to forget no one. Poseidon was in a good mood. He called for the west wind, and under full sail the Argo sped towards the east. When the wind grew tired and died down, the Argonauts put out their oars and rowed with all their might. Orpheus beat out the time with his lyre, and the ship cut through the waves like an arrow. One after the other, the heroes grew tired and pulled in their oars. Only Heracles and Jason were left rowing, each trying to outlast the other. Jason finally fainted, but just as he slumbered on, Heracles' huge oar broke in two, so equal glory was won by both of them. The Argonauts landed at a wooden coast so Heracles could cut himself a new oar. While he searched for a suitable tree, his young friend Hylas went to a pool to fill his jar with fresh water. When the nymph of the pool saw the handsome boy bending down, she fell in love with him. She pulled him down with her to the bottom of the pool, and Hylas vanished forever without leaving a trace. Heracles went out of his mind with grief when he could not find his friend. He ran through the woods, calling for Hylas, beating down whatever was in his way. The Argonauts, brave as they were, all feared Heracles when he was struck with folly. They hastily boarded the ship and sailed away without him. On toward the east the Argonauts sailed until they came to a country ruled by a king who was known for his knowledge and wisdom. They went ashore and asked the way to Colchis, but the king was so weak he could barely answer their questions. He was so thin only his skin held his bones together. Whenever food was set before him, 3 disgusting harpies, fat birds with women's heads, swooped down and devoured it. What they did not eat, they left so foul and filthy it was not fit to be eaten. No one in his kingdom could keep the harpies away. The Argonauts felt sorry for the starving king. They told him to have his table set, and when the harpies swooped down again, Zetus and Calais, the sons of the north wind, took to their wings. They could fly faster than the harpies, and when they caught them, they whipped the evil pests so hard they barely escaped their lives. The harpies flew to the south, never to be seen again. At last the famished king could eat in peace. He could not thank the Argonauts enough and told them how to set their course and what dangers they could encounter. No ship had yet been able to reach the shores of Colchis, he said, for the passage to the Black Sea was blocked by 2 moving rocks. The rocks rolled apart and clashed together, crushing whatever came between them. But if a ship could move as fast as a bird in flight, it might get through. He gave Jason a dove and told him to send the bird ahead of the ship. If the dove came through alive, they had a chance, he said. If not, they had better give up and turn back. The Argonauts took leave of the king and sailed toward the clashing rocks. From afar they could hear the din, and the heroes trembled. But as the rocks rolled apart, Jason released the dove, and the bird flew between them like a dart. Only the very tips of its tail feathers were clipped off when the rocks clashed together. "All men to the oars," Jason shouted. Orpheus grasped his lyre and played, and his music inspired the heroes to row as never before. The Argo shot ahead like an arrow when the rocks rolled apart, and only the very end of its stern was crushed as they crashed together. Again, the rocks rolled apart and stood firmly anchored. The spell was broken, and from then on ships could safely sail in and out of the Black Sea. The Black Sea was a dangerous sea to sail upon, and Hera had her hands full, guiding the Argonauts through perils. But with her help, Jason brought his ship safely through raging storms, past pirate shores and Cannibal Island, and the Argonauts finally arrived in Colchis. Aeetes, the king of Colchis, a son of Helios the sun, was a very inhospitable king. In fact, he was so inhospitable, he killed all foreigners who came to his country. When he saw the Argo landing, he was furious, and Jason led his men to his palace and said they were all great heroes and had come to offer the king their services in return for the Golden Fleece. He fumed with rage. "Very well," he said to Jason. "Tomorrow, between sunrise and sunset, you must harness my fire-breathing bulls, plow up a field, and sow it with dragon's teeth, as Cadmus did at Thebes. If you succeed, the Golden Fleece is yours. If you fail, I shall cut out the tongues and lop off the heads of you and all your great heroes." King Aeetes knew well that no man could withstand the searing heat that blew from the bulls' nostrils. What he did not know was that Hera was helping Jason. Hera knew the king's daughter, Medea, who stood at her father's side with modest downcast eyes, was the only one who could save Jason. She was a lovely young sorceress, a priestess of the witch goddess Hecate, and must be made to fall in love with Jason. So Hera asked Aphrodite to send her little son Eros to shoot one of his arrows of love into Medea's heart. Aphrodite promised Eros a beautiful enameled ball, and he shot an arrow into Medea's heart just as she lifted up her eyes and saw Jason. Her golden eyes gleamed. Never had she seen anyone so handsome. She just had to use her magic and save him from her cruel father. There's nothing she would not do to save Jason's life. She went to Hecate's temple and implored the witch goddess to help her, and guided by the witch goddess, she concocted a magic salve so powerful that one day neither iron nor fire could harm the one who was covered with it. For one day. In the dark of the night, Medea sent for Jason. When he came to the temple, she blushingly told him she loved him so much she would betray her own father to save him. She gave him the magic salve and told him to go up to the fire-breathing bulls without fear. Jason took the young sorceress in his arms and swore by all the gods of Olympus to make her his queen and love her to his dying day. Hera heard him and nodded, very pleased. When the sun rose in the morning, Jason went straight up to the fire-breathing bulls. They bellowed and belched flames at him, but with Medea's salve, he was invulnerable, and so strong he harnessed the bulls and drove them back and forth till the whole field was plowed. Then he seeded the dragon's teeth, and right away a host of warriors sprang up from the furrows. As Cadmus had done, he threw a rock amongst them and watched from afar as they killed one another. Before the sun had set, they all lay dead. Jason had fulfilled his task, but King Aeetes had no intention of keeping his part of the bargain. He called his men together and ordered them to seize the Argo and kill the foreigners at daybreak. In secrecy, Medea went to Jason and told him he must take the golden fleece, now rightfully his, and flee from Colchis before dawn. Under cover of night, she led him to the dark grove where the fleece, shining like the sun, hung on a branch of a tree. Around the trunk of the tree lay coiled the never-sleeping dragon, but Medea chanted incantations and bewitched the dragon. She stared at it with her golden eyes, and it fell into a deep magic sleep. Quickly, Jason took the golden fleece and ran with Medea to the waiting Argo, and quietly they slipped out to sea. At daybreak, when the king's men were to attack the ship, they found it was gone. So were the golden fleece and the king's daughter. Red-faced with fury, Aeetes set out in pursuit with his great fleet of Colchian warships. He wanted the golden fleece back, and he wanted to punish his daughter. The fastest of his ships, steered by one of his sons, soon overtook the Argo. The Argonauts thought themselves lost, but again Medea saved them. She called to her brother, who stood at the helm of his ship, and pretended to be sorry for what she had done. She said she would go home with him if he would meet her alone on a nearby island. At the same time, she whispered to Jason to lie in wait and kill her brother when he came. She knew her father would have to stop the pursuit to give his son a funeral. Hera and all the gods looked in horror at Medea, stained with her brother's blood. No mortal could commit a worse crime than to cause the death of his own kin. Zeus in anger threw thunderbolts. Lightning flashed, thunder roared, and the sea foamed. Then the sacred piece of oak in the bow of the Argo spoke. "Woe," it said, "woe to you all. Not a one amongst you will reach Greece unless the great sorceress Circe consents to purify Medea and Jason of their sin." Tossed about by howling winds and towering waves, the Argonauts sailed in search of Circe's dwelling. At long last, off the coast of Italy, they found her palace. Medea warned the Argonauts not to leave the ship, for Circe was a dangerous sorceress who amused herself by changing men who came to her island into the animal nearest the nature of each man. Some became lions, some rabbits, but most of them were changed into pigs and asses. Medea took Jason by the hand so no harm would befall him and went ashore. Circe was Medea's aunt. Like all descendants of Helios, she had a golden glint in her eyes, and the moment she saw Medea, she recognized her as her kin. But she was not happy to see her niece, for through her magic, she knew what Medea had done. Still, she consented to sacrifice to Zeus and asked him to forgive Medea and Jason for their crime. The scented smoke of her burnt offering of sweetmeats and cakes reached Zeus and put him in a good humor. He listened to Circe's words and again smiled down upon Medea and Jason. They thanked Circe and rushed back to the ship. The Argonauts rejoiced. Now they could set sail for Greece. But still they had to pass through dangerous and bewitching waters. Soon they came to the island of the Sirens. The Sirens were half bird, half woman, not loathsome like harpies, but enchanting creatures. They sat on a cliff, half hidden by sea spray, and sang so beautifully all sailors who heard them dived into the sea and tried to swim, only to drown or pine to death at the Sirens' feet. When the alluring voices of the Sirens reached the ears of the Argonauts, Orpheus grasped his lyre and sang so loudly and sweetly that all other sounds were drowned out, and not one of the Argonauts jumped overboard. After a while, the Argo had to sail through a narrow strait that was guarded by two monsters. On one side lurked the monster Scylla. From her waist up, she looked like a woman, but instead of legs, 6 furious snarling dogs grew out from her hips, and they tore to pieces whatever came close to them. The monster Chalybdis lived on the other side of the strait. She was forever hungry and sucked into her gullet all ships that ventured within her reach. Helpless, the Argo drifted between the two monsters, and the Argonauts again gave themselves up for lost, when up from the bottom of the sea rose the playful Nereids. They had come at Hera's bidding, and they lifted up the Argo and threw it from hand to hand over the dangerous waters until it reached the open sea beyond. Poseidon called for the west wind, and the Argo sped homeward under full sail. A loud cheer rang up from the valiant crew when they sighted the shores of Greece. They had been away for many long years and were homesick. But as the Argo neared the port of Iolcus, the ship was hailed by a fisherman who warned Jason King Peleus had heard of his safe return and made plans to kill him. Jason was downcast at his uncle's treachery, but Medea, her eyes flashing, asked to be set ashore alone. Once again, she wanted to save his life. Disguised as an old witch, she entered Iolcus, saying that she had magic herbs to sell that would make old creatures young again. The people crowded around her, wondering from where this witch had come. King Peleus himself came out from his palace and asked her to prove that what she said was true, for he felt he was growing old. "Bring me the oldest ram in your flock, and I will show you the magic of my herbs," she said. An old ram was brought to her, and she put it into a cauldron full of water. On top, she sprinkled some of her magic herbs, and lo, the water of the cauldron boiled, and out of the steam and bubbles sprang a frisky young lamb. Now King Peleus asked Medea to make him young too. She answered only his daughters could do that, but she would gladly sell them her magic herbs. But the herbs she gave them had no magic at all. And so King Peleus found his death in the boiling cauldron at his daughters' hands. Now the throne of Iolcus was Jason's. But again, Medea had committed a terrible crime. She had tricked innocent daughters into killing their own father. The gods turned from her, and she changed from a lovely young sorceress into an evil witch. The people of Iolcus refused to accept her as their queen, and took another king in Jason's stead. With the loss of his throne, Jason also lost his love for Medea. He forgot he had sworn to love her till his dying day, and that she had committed her crimes for his sake. He asked her to leave so he could marry the princess of Corinth and inherit her father's kingdom. Medea, scorned and furious, turned more and more to evil sorcery. To revenge herself on Jason, she sent a magic robe to his new bride. It was a beautiful gown, but the moment the bride put it on, she went up in flames, and so did the whole palace. Then Medea disappeared into a dark cloud, riding in a carriage drawn by 2 dragons. Jason found no more happiness, for when he broke his sacred oath to Medea, he lost Hera's goodwill. His good looks left him, and so did his luck and his friends. Lonesome and forgotten, he sat one day in the shade of his once glorious ship, the Argo, now rotting on the beach at Corinth. Suddenly, the sacred piece of oak in the prow broke off, fell on him, and killed him. The golden fleece was hung in Apollo's temple in Delphi, a wonder for all Greeks to behold, and a reminder of the great deeds of Jason and the Argonauts. Wow, that was a long one. Okay. Now, Kratos has the fleece. Knock, knock. Take care of those guys. Open this crate. You guys. Ow. Get off me. Going down. Nice. Got some kind of giant pig man. There, take that. Dang it. Here, little guy. Nope. Ow. Rage of the Furies. Okay, come on. Come here. Spin the stick! Spin the stick! Okay. Take the health. I'll take that. Just enough. Hyperion charge. Hyperion rise. Prometheus's torment. Hold square. Okay.
You'll never reach the sisters! Ghost of Sparta is my fate!
That crank doesn't belong to you. Come here. I'll take this, though. Phoenix Feather! Going up. Going up. Going up. Oh, I remember you. Oh, fond memories. Ow. Uh-huh. Oh, I'm gonna save it. And end that video there. Sorry not a lot happened. Most of it got taken up by the reading. You done? Okay, there we go. If you liked this video, let me know in the comments. If you really liked it, press that cute little like button. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Luke Dog, and I'll see you next time.